How's everybody this evening? Welcome everybody here to our meeting tonight. We're going to go ahead and get right into our committee meetings. Tonight we have one first reading and one second reading. On our first reading in the Finance Committee, Jim?
Thank you. We'll open the Finance Committee meeting at 6:02. Our first reading is Resolution 21R76, a resolution authorizing transfer of funds from the general fund to the police district fund and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. And this is what we normally do, and the amount of $250,000 from the general fund to the police district fund. Any questions, comments? We'll ask to waive the 3 readings on this. Next resolution is our second reading for Resolution 21R75, a resolution granting wage increases for certain full-time, part-time, non-union job classifications and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. This resolution is to raise administrative assistants that are currently paid $16.81, $2 per hour, which would be a 12% increase, and also raise administrative assistants $2 an hour and $1.50 an hour equivalent for accounting assistant and human resource, finance director, and zoning administrator, and 2.5% for all other part-time administrative employees. The $1.50 an hour for the accounting administrative assistant, human resource director, finance director, and zoning administrator, based on $50,000 a year, would be about a 60% increase. All of our other departments are agreed to contracts at 2.5% increase. So jumping up 6% or 12% seems rather excessive. I know we talk about other communities and what they pay, but we really can't compare apples to apples. Just looking at other communities, we have to understand what their requirements are, their size, their qualifications necessary, experience necessary, etc. Use an example of a restaurant. If you're, you have cooks that are making $10 an hour, and you have a kitchen manager, you pay that kitchen manager $2 an hour more to be kitchen manager, well, that's super. But then if you have another restaurant that's maybe a little high end, you're going to have a kitchen manager there that's going to make a lot more than $12 an hour. They're still in the food industry, they're still kitchen managers, but there's a difference between the positions, obviously. I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'm not in favor of across-the-board raises. I think these raises are pretty excessive. They, $2, $1.50 doesn't necessarily sound excessive, but when you compare it to what everybody else and the unions and police chief, fire chief, or police captain, and assistant fire chief all accepted a 2.5% increase also. So we asked for time to give the people that weren't here at the last meeting an opportunity to be involved. And I guess we'll let Mr. Adamson share any information he might.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate your point of view. The $2 would be for our 4 administrative assistants. And we have an administrative assistant in each one of our departments. In the administration department, in the police department, in the fire department, and in the service department. And all 4 of those are at $16.81. A couple of those people have been here 7 years. One of them's been here 17 years. And so I get it. It's hard to kind of line up the comparables, but we looked at, and the legislation recites our neighbors. The comparable rate in Norton is $18.83. In Greene, it's $19.42. In Springfield, it's $19.43. Copley, $19.77, Coventry, $20.84. And so, and a couple of these are, I think, very close in terms of size, budget, et cetera. So we're seeing a range of anywhere from $18.80 up to $20.84 in these other communities. If you grant the $2 increase for these 4 administrative assistants, they would be at $18. They would still be a little bit below the lowest of the comps. The $1.50 raise would be for the accounting, the administrative assistant in accounting who's been with us 12 years. The HR director who's been with us 37 years. The finance director who's been with us, Tom, combined between the two tours?
Probably about 17.
All right. 17 years. Our zoning guy's been here 18 years. It would, the average for zoning is $26. This would get him to $23.64. The HR and the finance people, it would take HR, if it were, you computed it out to a salary, it would take the HR up to about $54,000. I've said before on those 2 positions, with HR and finance, if we had to replace these 2 positions, we'd be talking about a lot more money than that. And then the other 3 would just be the 2.5%. These are our part-time people: assistant zoning, special projects, and the grants coordinator. So let me say this. I'll try to be brief relative to why I think it's appropriate. We did equity increases the last couple contracts for the police and the fire because they were below the comps in the other communities. And so with those equity increases, we got them to a point where they're reasonably comparable. The purpose of this legislation is to do the same thing for our administration. Not to boost them above everybody else, but at least get them to the bottom tier. And we think that's important for a couple reasons. I mean, one is job retention. And it's no secret, the great resignation. And I think this is a proactive move, as opposed to waiting for somebody to leave and go somewhere else and make a couple extra bucks an hour by going to another city and doing the same job. And then we have to try to find somebody and train them. And anybody who's out there in the workforce knows how difficult it is right now to find people, period. Much less people that you can train, and we lose the value of all that experience. So I think from that perspective, it's really important as far as retention is concerned. I also think this, and we did adopt a policy manual. We are doing performance evaluations. We will be in a position where we can talk about merit raises. But I really believe that these raises are in the range of a merit-based pay. And for these reasons. Performance. Without looking at each one of them individually. From the administrative side of it, 4 out of the last 5 years, we got the Auditor's Award. There have been clean audits every year. That's coming, that keeps happening here. They completed the policy manual for the first time ever. 123-page policy manual. Added the Facebook page. Added ordinances to the website. And now we publish in advance what the legislation is. This group these administrative assistants handled the transition of dispatch to the South Summit column, which was no easy task in terms of human resources and the work that went behind that. We improved the coordination of services in the road department. We had our deputy service director who was out on the road trying to manage people and take phone calls and try to take care of the finance part of it, and council had enough foresight to allow us to put somebody in that position, and now we function so much more effectively over there because we put somebody in that position. So we got a $500,000 grant for the fire truck. Coordinated 11 community events at the Tudor House, went from 0 to 11. Okay? This is what these people did in addition to their basic day-to-day work. Okay? I mean, there's merit involved here. While they're making less than their contemporaries were. I believe they've earned these raises. We really have had as good a 4 years as we ever had in the city. And I think that this isn't really like rewarding them. I just want to get them up to the bottom tier of what others are making. we really have, they are a well-oiled machine. Everything is functioning really well. We're in the best financial condition the city's ever been in. And that's a lot, that's because of frugal planning. And that's what goes on when you have experience in these departments, is you don't have waste. And I will mention the morale. I think, well, we meet every 2 weeks, and I'll shut up with this, but it's excellent. We've had cooperation from our staff. We formed a healthcare committee a couple of years ago, and I'll be talking to you about healthcare. Not too many cities do that. And these guys, the men and women have pitched in and they've cooperated, so it's functioning really well. I don't want to lose any of these people. And again, so it's not so much we're going to give them a bonus. What they did it lower than comparable rates. I just want to bring them up to what's fair. And I believe that this would do that. So I'm a little bit passionate about this one, but I do feel that way. I see them come in every day. I like it, because this is the last thing I'm going to say. I tell them when we're together as a group. The people in the city, you go to bed at night, and if I don't worry if it's if it's snowing whether that road's going to be plowed. If I dial 911, I don't worry because I know somebody's coming. If I need the police, I know they're coming. We don't toss and turn about that. Our level of services is top notch. And it's not just the people that go out into the street that make that happen. It's the people that are behind the scenes too. And I commend our people just for that. I said, a lot of people they don't get up in the morning and say, gee, everybody from New Franklin is really doing a good job. They just count on us to do a good job. And these people do it. So I'm asking you to support this.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate your comments, and I've made my opinions known numerous times throughout my time here. I am not in favor of across-the-board raises. I am totally in favor of merit increases. I'm not against raises. I want people to make money and make the money they deserve and the money that we can afford. And I appreciate that we're getting to that point, that down the road we're going to see that. I also appreciate your commitment to this resolution and your passion with it. As you being their boss and being as passionate about it, I support you in this, and I will vote for it. But you understand why my concerns with the whole thing. But you made a strong argument, so I appreciate you.
And just another comment, Jim, about, you see across the board, it's 11 employees that the mayor has contact with basically every day to check their performance. It's not 30 or 40 people that are doing whatever and just say, okay, everybody gets this. Explaining that, they did the audits and everything they do, them 4 people in the office and the 3 other administrators, and then there's 4 assistants. He's got close contact with them. So I think if he didn't feel that there was merit to this, I don't think he would give it. And I'm glad you support it, but I would be against just whipping it out there without good merit from what the mayor sees with their merit and the performance. So I'm in support of it. So.
And Jim, you've always, and I respect that, you come from a platform, you say these are the things that I believe in and I feel, and you've been consistent. But you've also had an open mind as to what the result should be, and you've listened to the arguments, and you've thought about it, and you've weighed it. But you stand true to your position, and I think you have to jump off that platform. That's where you stand, and then you say, I'm going to look out over this vista, and then I'll make my decision. You've always been clear on that, and I respect that.
I do too. Yep.
I think we all support you on that.
Well, it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about,
Now
everybody
it's about
there.
your
So, I appreciate the comments, but really it's about everybody else. So, anybody else have comments, questions? Are we comfortable waiving the third? Okay. We will close finance at 6:16. Thank you all for attending.
All right, thanks, Jim. All right, anybody have anything else in their committees they'd like to talk about? Bring up. All righty then, I'm gonna call to order the City of New Franklin meeting this Wednesday, November 17th, 2021. We'll call for numbers 6:17.
Let's introduce.
All right.
Like to go through.
Yeah, come on up.
Want to start us off?
You guys want to
Okay.
You gotta say who you are.
Yeah.
I'm Hannah.
What's your last name?
Hannah Schindler.
Okay.
I'm Tommy Schindler. We will enjoy the
Thank you.
pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
All right, here we go. We'll get into our roll call, please.
Mr. Cox?
Present.
Mr. Hargit?
Present.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mr. Hawk?
Here.
Ms. Norris?
Here.
Mr. Stock?
Here, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular scheduled meeting of November 3rd, 2021.
Second.
First and second, discussion, questions on the minutes?
Gee, I don't, can you second that if you have to abstain?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have a first and second, any other discussion, questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hargit?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Abstain.
Mr. Hawk?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Abstain.
Mr. Stock?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the financials for October 2021, subject to audit.
Second.
We have first and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Abstain.
No, for financials.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Hawk?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Stock?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Hargit?
Yeah.
All
All right, thank you. I can see you guys. All
right.
right, we're gonna go ahead and get into our public comments. Please keep your comments addressed to council under 4 minutes and state your name and your addresses, please. Mark, I knew this coming.
Of course, that's what this meeting's for, right? My name's Mark Sedlak, 5497 Grove Road. Two things, and they both have to deal with keeping the community informed and have to do with transparency. The first item is I'd like to ask council to please refrain from continuing this kind of concerning trend of virtually everything that comes up, we want to waive the 3 readings. It's my understanding that 3 readings is a mechanism in pretty much any kind of an organization to give the rest of the community at large the opportunity to hear what the issues are, have a chance to think about it, and then provide their input to either their individual council members or their council members at large, or in a public meeting such as this. And if you bring something up the first time and then waive the other 2 readings and then vote on it at the same meeting, you're not really giving the public the opportunity to stay informed. So that was the first thing. And the second goes to public notifications. Now, I know that in the city's charter, it says that for all different types of things, public notification amounts to putting something in the newspaper. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't subscribe to any newspapers anymore. I mean, with the internet, most people get their news from the online news sources. Sure, the leader shows up sometimes, not always. The last 3 weeks, I haven't gotten one. I had to call them and say, hey, how come I'm not getting this? So this is 2021, not 1999, so maybe we ought to address adding something maybe to the city charter or as an addendum that says we make public meetings and public notices available directly electronically, both on the city's website and or by email, which we just approved a pretty good chunk of change last council meeting to develop and build a new website. For my own business, I manage my own website. I use PowWeb as my server. For $150 to $200 a year, depending on how many mailboxes you want to support, they put out there an exchange server where you can have a database of people's names, emails, and anytime you want to send something out to them, you just say, send an email, boom, and it happens automatically. If you're building a new website, there are tools. I mean, my son's an IT guy, and I talked to him a little bit about this. There are tools out there where on a web page you can create a form that any citizen can fill in. That information gets captured into a database, and anytime the city schedules a meeting, those people that have said that they'd like to be informed, will automatically get notified when that meeting notification is created. And nobody has to do anything. And now, when we're building a new website, and if we truly want to be transparent and make the community aware, it's something we should probably consider doing right now. Now, the reason I also bring that up is I did, now that I got a leader, notice that the city of Green their council just approved rezoning a big chunk of land to create 298 market rate apartments, and previously another 250 unit apartments. Now, we've been given assurances by Mayor Adamson that high density housing is really not in the plan, but yet it was in a development plan that was presented to the state to get grant money. So there must be something behind it. And what
That's
just,
not true, but go ahead.
the presentation is still sitting on the city's website.
Yeah, but
the
it wasn't
planning
to
and
get- That
development.
wasn't to get a grant, so go ahead.
But it was presented at that meeting, is my
Not to get-
understanding,
but
as
listen,
from
not to
the
get a- We already had the grant, so not to get a grant, so you'll have to, I'm just saying that's false. I'm just saying.
Okay, well, was not my understanding of the mayor's comment. But
No,
anyway,
it wasn't to get a
I
grant.
thought that presentation was given at the state, was it not?
No, it was
Okay.
after the grant. They asked us to come because they were,
Okay, my
there were only
misunderstanding.
two grants given in the state of
You're
Ohio.
almost done with your
And
time.
we got the
Okay,
biggest
got
one.
about 30 seconds.
All right, well, then let me finish up.
Okay, go ahead.
But that presentation about potential plans for development is still out there. Okay?
Yeah.
So if the city were to decide to try to move forward in that direction, it's going to require a planning and zoning meetings, or it's going to require a council to put it up according to the city's charter.
Yes,
And all of that has to happen based on public notification.
yes.
But if it's a little notation on the city's calendar that says PZC meeting at 6 o'clock on some day, how many citizens are going to know what that's about? So
All right.
making sure that the citizens are aware and involved in those kind of decisions before a major zoning change like that were to happen.
We've done that in the past. When we did our zone, we had tons of.
I understand you
meetings,
did the meetings, but I'm talking about notification and making people
so We
aware.
had plenty, we had this room filled so many times, so we get out there. Thank you for your comment. All right, anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, thank you, Council. Good evening. I'm Mike Conwell, 1089 Center Road. I am a very conscious individual for cost of increases and how they impact our expenses and revenues. In essence, you guys have just made a decision to increase wages that should have happened. And my question is, shouldn't that be a cyclic increase in earnings? A 3% cost of living allowance annually, and we value these employees that much, it should be already part of our budget, part of our expense structure. But as a citizen, I can't see that line. I can't see when it's happening, how often it happens, and then what's the impact of the budget. So is there any place I can look at that information to find out we're increasing wages by this is how much we've allocated for this, and we're staying within our framework of earnings, revenues, taxes? And that's all I'm curious to know. So what it is, public record, right?
Yeah, the wages are public record. In fact, we even have documents that all council get that show everybody's actual earnings. And also, we've got the appropriations, we've got the resolutions for every time that yearly, usually we as the union gets a raise, other people get a raise, and it's usually in line with that. So that's a yearly thing, and it's all in our books. So,
But how do I find it? How do I see that?
well, you'd have to look at the resolutions, and then you'd have to go and look at the actual appropriations. And our appropriations are based on expected revenue, because by law, we cannot appropriate more than the expected revenue.
Understood.
So it's all in our appropriations and our certificates. So there's a number of documents that you need to look at.
Is there an easier way for the dummies like me to find it? Because I don't know what your appropriation processes are and your systematic approaches are. It would be basically to me that we've increased this amount, this is how much it's going to hit the budget, this is where we remain positive or negative to the revenues that are given. That's all I'm asking. I can't, again, you're the experts, I'm not.
Yes.
So I'm, again, and then I appreciate the fact that you're adamant about in keeping the quality of people that we have, paying them a market wage is acceptable. But it should be systematically built into the system that they see a cost of living increase. It keeps them within the market range. I mean, we're at the bottom of the market. And I'm more of the type of individuals that should put them in the median range. If we can see that happening over time, so that we can retain this quality. We've got people who've been here have invested their entire personal lives into the development of our community
Yeah.
that are at the bottom of the range, which is to me unacceptable. And I think those ranges should be part of the expense structure of what we're doing. But we should be transparent and clear to the people like me.
I think I get what you're saying, and the best I can say is this, that we are, you gotta crawl before you can walk, and then you walk before you can run, and we had some catching up to do. That's the best I can tell you. And your notions are well taken, and I think that there ought to be that type of, we should be able to, there should be a place where you can go to find that information. We have to create that place. And we're getting there. We're getting there. Again, it's, we were a city, 12 years and had no policy manual. So we got there. A lot of the comments relative to the website, you're going to see those features in this new website. We finally got our ordinances online. We got more work to do there. So I think also in terms of trying to quantify information and give people a place to find it, we got work to do there. But we intend to do that. So I think that's something you'll see over the next 4 years.
Yeah, we do want, I have suggested, and we were planning on looking into this, is actually setting up like most administrative staff do, where there's a step range for whatever they are. If it's administrative assistant or have you, it's based on their experience as well as, and then any kind of raise would be on top of that. So it needs to be set up in that way so that people would know that actually work for us, what they can expect with their years of service and that kind of thing.
All of which would go through council.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah. I just wanted to see it. But again, I think you guys are doing a marvelous job on what you're doing. But my point is that at the end of the day, there's a finite amount of revenue, there's a finite amount of expenses. So we need to see both of those lines.
Thank you. If I could make one observation, based on Mike's comments just now, the compensation is not just salary either. The information regarding what healthcare plan and or pension benefits, those, if there's a 401k, I don't know what the city structure is, but that all falls into compensation when comparing this city's employees versus other cities' employees. And that information should be made available as well, I think.
And to continue that line, it's just to me about expenses and revenues. It doesn't matter to me because the compensation plan is going to be based on market value. You guys aren't going to get a better rate because of the size of our employee staff. I just want to make sure that it's business, that's all. So the entire package.
Right. And to kind of allude to his question, obviously, by law, we have to deduct OPERS or if they're fire, police, OPNF. And those rates are set by statute, so that we don't have a 401k, that's just what we take out.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
To kind of comment on a couple of the other comments. With the new website and the folks that you guys are having do that, they could do a notify me app on there. Where essentially they click on a little link and that would allow them to enter all their contact information. You guys, through that website, if you guys go through with that can actually notify everybody en masse. On the budget, I'm assuming each department does a year budget. It's just going to show the personnel costs, all their expenditures for professional services, capital, all that stuff. Why can't we just get that posted on the website where people can go in there and see? Because you're going to show the cost, the COLA adjustment for each person for that coming year.
Well,
You're going to
actually,
show the capital expenditures. I know we purchased a Great All this year.
Yep.
Stuff like that you can actually see, and you can see how much you're going to be spending on the roads. If you just posted that document up there, I think just on the city website, people can go to that and answer these questions.
well, actually, it wasn't on the website before because it used to be put up there. I used to when they changed the website to where you can the open checkbooks because before they changed it and now I can't upload stuff to it. They have to do it. But our budget and all our documentation, revenue and expenses were all up there as other documents that you could click on. So we're hoping to put more stuff on the new website because, we make, it's available.
But the open checkbook, if you get, I mean, from the resident side, it's pretty cumbersome. It doesn't give you a whole lot of information. It's kind of generic when you're looking at a lot of
That's
it.
why I added those as separate attachments.
So if I don't know if the budget's in a PDF form or something, that could be a simple add to the website where just the whole thing's
Right.
there.
I'm sorry, but if we could move forward and plan on wage increases for the next year and following year now, based on what we have and what the expected revenues are, I think that would be beneficial to our staff here. I don't think any employee wants to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait to see earnings increase when they can forecast it based on their, again, we got great citizens that are working here. I'm just asking that as a, if I were running a business, that's how I would do it. I would forecast that every year my employees can expect to see an increase relative to their performance, relative to what our budgets are. Without it being so drawn out. It should be, and I'm not saying it should be good. You guys address the point. Across the board, wages increase is not, let's not incentivize just longevity, tenure. Let's incentivize the fact that we have enough foresight to see performance based on positive returns.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, anyone else? All right, we're gonna go ahead and get into our couple pieces of legislation. We have, again, we have one first reading, resolution number 21-R-76.
A resolution authorizing the transfer of funds from the general fund to the police district fund and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We move to waive the 3 readings on Resolution 21-R-76.
First and second, roll call, please.
Mr. Hawk?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Stock?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Hargit?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
We move to adopt Resolution 21-R-76.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hawk?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Stock?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Hargit?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
All right, passes 6-0. Move to our second reading, resolution number 21-R-75.
A resolution granting wage increases for certain full-time and part-time non-union job classifications and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We move to waive the 3rd reading on Resolution 21-R-75.
I'll second that.
First and second, roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Hawk?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Stock?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Hargit?
Yes.
We move to adopt Resolution 21-R-75.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Hawk?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Stock?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Hargit?
Yes.
Passes 6-0, thank you. There's no thirds or pending. Move into our mayor's report.
His favorite part, right?
Yeah,
All right, okay, no, we'll see about that. Hey, I appreciate all the comments, I appreciate the support, and I know that our staff will be very appreciative as well. I don't want to go too deep in the weeds on this, but I mean, it's, so I believe we're at that parity level now in all our departments. And whether or not we ever get to a point where we say, we know what's happening with the unions because it's a 3-year contract. Okay, so we could just project and say, okay, the non-union people are going to get that also, but that flies in the face of the idea of, do we want to do across the board raises or do we want to do merit? And that's where it gets a little tricky. With the unions, it's going to always be across the board. With the administrative side of it, it sounds like it'd probably be some kind of hybrid, but certainly I would say to you that from my perspective, we'd be in that, there's no reason why we wouldn't be in that range. I wouldn't expect to be above that range of what's going on with the unions, but we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. All right. I got some happy and sad news, and I see that Ms. Reck is here, and I don't mean to single you out, that you've been very loyal in your opposition to taking the trees down over there at Sisler. We had applied for a grant from ODNR NatureWorks, and we had asked for $150,000. They were made aware, quite ably, of what the concerns were from residents and the loss of the timber over there to do the clearing. In my view, what they decided would maybe give us some direction. So I just learned this afternoon that they did award us $53,000, $52,791. So the good news is it's a $52,791 grant for the tennis courts. So, I mean, with that in mind, it would, without being insensitive at all to the concerns of folks relative to the clearing. We have that agreement with the Manchester schools. That's the land they gave us. It's a parcel that is an athletic complex. We'll do what we can do in terms of any additional buffering, although these woods don't exactly buffer by themselves. But this is where the money is coming, and it would be my intention, absent some other action, to proceed with the location, to accept the grant. And we're working on, we still have the other grant out there, and we're working on paring down the cost, doing as much of the work as we can ourselves. The intention is going to be to rebid it again in January. We've talked with Kevin Noble. He feels that'll be the optimum time to get the best pricing. And we're taking some things off the front end, and we're going to take some things off the back end. The clearing and the site prep off the front end, we think we can do a lot of that ourselves. At the back end, there's some concrete work, and there's some the driveways, the parking areas. And there's going to be a lot of pluses. So we're going to add a bunch of parking that hopefully get people off at Drake Drive. And we're optimistic that we can pare that number down substantially, what the ultimate cost is going to be, so we can make that project happen. I will add again that everybody should know that there will be, these are parks money that will be used for this project. Although I'm meeting with Susan and I'm still trying to find a way for us to self-finance this, as opposed to having to go out for bonds or loans to get the balance in the event that we're not successful with the federal grant. That if we have sufficient funds that we can fund it and then repay it through the parks on a annual basis, which I think we'd be able to do that within 5, 6, 7 years. So that's the news from ODNR and from NatureWorks, and we were successful with that grant. Speaking of grants, we also received $303,819, the municipal bridge program, for the Grill Road bridge replacement. So we have 30 bridges in New Franklin. And I know, that's what everybody says. Where are they? I don't see any bridges. But anything that's any culvert, anything that's 10 feet, anywhere we got a 10-foot pipe, that's a bridge. So there's a whole lot of roads that you drive on every day you don't think of as a bridge, but there's water going underneath it. And this is one of them. And so we've been successful in the past, and we're going to be building the Better Road Bridge. We got, between the OPWC money and the state, we got almost $900,000 towards that process. So we were successful there. We went back to the well again for the Grill Road Bridge, and we were successful there as well. And the good news at this year is that rather than an 80-20 split, they covered 95% of the costs. So this, our share will be, it's about a $320,000 project. Our share is going to be $15,990. And the state has given us, the federal money is $303,819.
That's
So-
federal money?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're thrilled about that one as well. We're going to keep tipping away at these because we have others among these 30 that are going to need attention. Holiday help. The city took kind of adopted 8 families, 2 from each school district last year, and the employees and the unions put money together, and many of you did as well. We're asking you to consider that again, and if you contact the office, we'll tell you how to make the checks payable. We are going to accept contributions through Friday, December 3rd, and we're going to try to get the money out to these families by December 15th so they can use it for their Christmas. Last year we went out and bought specific things, and this year we're just going to give them gift cards. So we want to try to collect as much as we can. And I will tell you that we put this on our website a couple days ago, and we got a card. I should have brought it in here. That was dropped off. And it was, I'll just paraphrase it. I don't want to, embarrass anybody, so I won't go into great detail. But I opened the card. It was to the mayor and the New Franklin employees, and wanted to thank us for what we did last year. That was too embarrassed to thank us last year. Somebody who's raising grandchildren and really was in need, and things have gotten so much better. And wanted to pay it forward, and gave us a $20 bill. Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah. So that's a real good start. So anybody, please contact our office if you're able to donate anything, and we'll try to make Christmas more special for at least eight families out here. Health insurance. The Health Care Committee has unanimously recommended that we go with a fully funded insurance program through Cornerstone, which is Crystal Cianciola, who works with Ayers Insurance. And a lot of pluses there. One is that that's a local business, and we'll be able to bring the business to a New Franklin business. This fully funded program, by the time they add the dental, is going to be somewhere in the range of $900,000. Our reference-based pricing and the employees, God bless them, they stood up and they tried for a couple of years with that, but it got to the point where you couldn't get service, particularly Cleveland Clinic. And so we looked at self-insured with a network, but the reference-based was projected to cost us about $1.1 million. And the self-insured with the network, we got some quotes on that, and it was in the range of $1.2 to $1.3 million. The fully funded through MedMutual comes out to about $900,000. Now, we know that we've stayed away from fully funded before because we're always worried about the bumps, how much they're going to increase it. But we did a projection of if, in fact, it went up 25% the first year, and again 25% the second year, it would still average out at $1,140,000. Which is right about what we're paying right now for our reference base. So the notion is to go into this with the 3-year plan. And we're being told that they don't think it would go up 25%. We may be able to stay with fully funded for a while. So that's a recommendation from the Healthcare Committee. We are looking for specific, to pin down the quotes from Cornerstone. And if we're able to get everything in place soon enough, we would start this January 1st, and we would terminate our coverage, our current coverage. There was an issue about do we have to be signed up for 9 months or so, and they wanted a couple $100,000, and we pushed back on that a little bit, and they said they're going to waive that. So we're hopeful that we can make that transition January 1st. Now, what that will involve is when we get that quote, I'll bring something to council for your consideration. It'll be the new contract for you to decide if you would approve that. So, but again, it sounds like a good plan, and one card, and I think it will serve us well. So that's what's going on with the healthcare. The comprehensive plan, we've had plenty of discussions, and we know there's there's a lot of information floating around out there, but all I'll say is that we want, and we've always invited community input, And that's what we did back in 2002, 2003, when we had when we put together the first comprehensive plan. We had community meetings, and we had a community survey, and we tried to take everybody's pulse in terms of what they'd like to see. When we got the sewer and the water coming to 93, we initially thought we'd focus on just what kind of development should take place there. Those conversations sort of mushroomed about, hey, maybe it's time just to do an update on the whole plan, which I think was a good recommendation. So we sent out a request for proposals for a comprehensive plan update. I sent those out on November 5th, and we sent them to 6 of our local different engineering groups that have reached out to us and have done business with us in the past. We also posted them on the OEDA website, and the proposals are due Friday, December 3rd. And so we'll see what those come in, and when they come in, I'll share them with council. And I'd like to be in a position where we can get this in place to kick off the new year. And that will involve putting together a steering committee. I think there were about 16 members last time. So we'll have to, decide who that's going to be and start that process. And it was a lengthy process last time around. We don't have to be in a hurry. But I think it's an idea of, where do we want to consider developing? It comes down to a nutshell, and I won't give you the whole speech. But the whole notion is maintaining the rural character, but coming up with some additional commercial development so that we continue to increase the income tax base, so that we never have to go back for property taxes, and we can keep providing the same level of services. I think that's absolutely doable. But we'll get some, but rather than looking just at 93, we'll look at some of these other corridors that we looked at before. So when those come in, I'll share them with everybody. Christmas at the Tudor House will be in a tent on Sunday, December 5th, from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And I think we have 7 different groups already lined up that are going to come out and sing, which is really neat. So from the neighboring schools, a couple of the churches. So that's been a lot of fun in the past, and we look for it to be a lot of fun. We'll have heaters in there. So that's going to be Sunday, the first Sunday of December, from 2 o'clock to 5 p.m. And that's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Finance?
Well, we're, as we said before, we're getting ready to start gearing up for our end of the year. So hopefully before the next meeting, we will get you the temporary appropriations for 2022. I can't believe I'm saying 2022 already. So that we can get up and running. And then, of course, once we get our actual certificate of estimated resources with our actual balances on it, which comes usually February, we'll start with our department heads like we always do, and Mayor and I will meet with them, go over their wants, needs, and their budgets, and come up with our annual appropriations. It's worked out really good for everybody because that's the time of year that the police, fire, and everyone has time to sit down. They've already talked to people and gotten prices for equipment that they think they need and that kind of thing. So it's worked out really well for us. We've done that for quite a few years. Other than that, I do have the balance for the end of October. Cash balance, unexpended balance is $7,501,029.32. That's it.
Thank you. All right, old business?
I think this would be with business, David, I'm not sure what. There was an article in the paper about grant money received for the walking trail, and we received a couple of letters in opposition to that.
Yeah.
That would be something that we want to speak about, too.
Yeah, just briefly. Well, we got there was a study done. I've got it back there. I think in 2015 or so. That was done to the idea to connect. That study was to connect Nenosilla with the state park with the Ohio and Erie Canalway. And we see this a lot of places around the county. We see a lot of places around the state. because, you know, people like to walk, they like to bike, et cetera, et cetera. So that proposal was put together and nothing ever happened with it. We have, you know, I have talked about the possibility, you know, of rejuvenating that notion of trying to connect the Portage Lake State Park with the Ohio and Erie Canalway. It's really, it could be an important piece, depending on what decisions are made, primarily by property owners, how they choose to develop their land. But, you know, we've looked at the sewer and water on 93. We expect we'll see some, we know there's some already just waiting, and there'll be some additional commercial development. And not industrial, and not, you know, no Walmarts, no AMHA high-rises. Just maybe a coffee shop, you know, maybe a grocery store, maybe an Aldi's, some places like that, that would fit. And then the notion being of what you've heard me talk about since I got here, and I got the really nice letters in the back saying, hey, we want to downsize, you know, we're retired, you know, we're or not retired, we just don't need a 4-bedroom house anymore, but we want to still live out here, and there's no place for us to go. We have to go down to Jackson, or we have to go out to Hartsville, or out to Prestwick, or wherever. And wouldn't it be nice to have some of that type of housing for people to transition into? And if we had that kind of housing, what do people? I always picture when you follow the Ohio and Erie Canalway and you get down towards Canal Fulton, there's a really neat condo complex, retirement place that feeds right into that. Okay, so we said, well, you know, if you want to have some of those things happen, if that's a good thing for the city, then we've got two gems. We've got the Portage Lake State Park, and we've got the Ohio and Erie Canalway. And we've already had the state say they'd like to see that connected. All right? So let's revisit that notion. And so we applied for a grant to update the proposal. And we got that money. And so that's what's going on right now. And then we also, you guys allowed us to apply for a grant to actually fund that, which is a major project. We don't expect to get it. If we get it, great. Then the decision is made, do we want to proceed with it? And maybe we don't. I want to make this clear. It's not the linchpin to anything. All right? It's not like we got to have that. All right? There's the school of thought that said that would be a good thing. All right? So that's something that council will eventually have to decide, and people will have to decide. And so the last thing I want to say about that is that the initial plans talked about the logical place for it to go is straight down Vanderhoof. But we had a gentleman here a couple weeks ago that said, hey, wait a minute, we're going to put that right through my front yard. It turns out it would be on the other side of the street. So it'd be, you know, so he doesn't care anymore because it's the other. No, he does care. He very much still does care. He's a real gentleman. You know, we had a great conversation. I went out and met with him, and as it happens, it's going to be on the other side of the street. But even at home, my wife was saying, Ida, would you really want that going through your front yard? You know, and I'm not sure. You know, so I asked our engineers to look at a couple different alternatives. Is there somewhere else we can go without going straight through there? Our problem is that first stretch of Vanderhoof. All right, once you get past those houses, it's wide open spaces. So there's three different thoughts, a couple different alternatives they could go to. Maybe they get up here to the power lines and go under those for a while or whatever. Maybe they go behind some of those properties, but nobody's real crazy about that one. But the third notion that was suggested to me, we'll say by Katie. And actually, when I went out and talked to the guy, he thought the same thing. That maybe on Vanderhoof, instead of putting a trail through somebody's front yard, what if we added a bike lane on the pavement? Okay? Because he mentioned to me, I'm not going to say, I can't remember his name right do, but I don't want to put him on the spot. But he said, hey, you know, the people come. He said, I see the guys riding their bikes up this. And so there are people that are already riding their bike on Vanderhoof, which is a horrible road to ride on. I've done it. And when I ride, I usually I'll come back center, which is not bad. But one time I went farther, I took a wrong turn and got to Doylestown. By the time I came back, I was really tired. Number one. But number two, I came back Vanderhoof, and I would never do that again. That's just a dangerous road. So, but he mentioned, what about a bike path? Maybe we can extend the pavement and put a bike path. And so that's the latest iteration. So that's really what's up with it, Judy. It's maybe let's see if the Ohio Erie Canalway they're very anxious to connect anywhere they can to that 110 miles, and anywhere they have. So it's not unique to New Franklin, but they say you got a state park here, and we got that down there. This is a no-brainer from their perspective. Let's see if we can connect these.
Isn't there a committee for that, Paul, looking into that trail? Don't you have a committee?
No, not specifically for that. We had a committee that was talking in general about what we're going to do on commercial on 93, but we didn't get specific on that particular path.
Is that committee still in?
It's still in, the committee still exists. At this point, I'm interested in trying to get these proposals and see what we're going to do with the comprehensive plan update. And probably in some ways kind of morph that committee into a steering committee and let them focus on the whole city.
So actually, the grant money is just for a study.
Exactly.
It's actually nothing more. It's not to propose doing that. It's actually just to see if it's a good idea.
Exactly. This is a project that would be, well, not to say, hey, time goes by awful quick. But this is something that be 3 or 4 years down the road. Even if they approve the funding, that funding cycle wouldn't come until 2024, 2025. But the focus will be, do we want to accept the grant? And I don't know the answer to that. A big piece of that would be, can we plug in our share? We've been able to do that with some success in a couple of these other ventures. Where, we had Benner Road, we had 20% to make up, well, we got OPWC money for that. So, let's say we got 80% for this trail and everybody wanted to do it. Well, the next thing is, hey, is there somewhere we can go for the 20%? So it's going to be a process.
And I have another question because of something you said. You said that this gentleman suggested a bike trail, a bike lane.
Yeah.
But you just said how dangerous it was. I can't imagine that making it less dangerous. And I'm not being funny.
No,
I'm
I
just
get
saying
you.
the way people drive.
We'd have to add pavement.
Yes.
We'd have to extend the road.
Yes.
We couldn't take the existing,
Yeah.
we couldn't put it in the existing road. We'd have to have a berm with a,
And that would still go into other people's front yards.
well, it would just,
It
the
would be
road would be
still-
wider.
Right.
And so it wouldn't go across somebody's driveway. Those people would go across that pavement into their driveway. I don't know if that's the answer, but it's one option.
Thank you.
Any other old business? New business? Let's call new business. All right, public questions, anything we talked about today, you have a question about? Yes, whoever, yes, sir.
First, I'd like to applaud Mayor Adamson for listening to the Citizens Advisory Panel when we're talking about planning for the city's future. We strongly, as a group, said we felt that we needed to do a revisit of the comprehensive plan, and he listened. And now he's going out to a number of vendors rather than one company that did it in the past. So I applaud you for that, for listening to us, and I think we were all in agreement that that's the first step, is to find out what the community really wants. And I would hope that listening to us will continue in the future, which I think it will. Second thing was on the tennis courts. If we're going to be potentially looking at the city removing hardwood timber that's there, can the city look into potentially selling that timber to somebody?
Yeah, that's what we're looking at in terms of the clearing. I get somebody to do the clearing in exchange for the lumber.
Okay, perfect. Third item I had was, we thought we still have a pretty sizable budget surplus, some $7 million. Would it be possible to take some or some portion of that and invest it in some way that we're getting a return on our investment rather than having it just in a bank, where you're not getting any interest at all. There's a lot of very secure investment instruments where at least you could get a percent, maybe 1.5%. That was my third comment. The last one was, you mentioned several times, or we talked about it in the meeting here, was about this, the new insurance plan, medical insurance for the city. I, as a citizen who's paying for that plan, would like to know what kind of plan this employees of the city that I'm paying for. As a business owner, I know what my insurance costs are, and I know what I have to do in terms of deductibles and employee contribution in order to make it affordable. And as a citizen who's paying the taxes, I'd like to know what the city is doing in that regard in terms of keeping the costs down.
We'll get that as soon as we get the proposal.
Okay.
And regarding the financial aspect of that, we do have savings, and because we are a government, there are only certain areas where we can invest money by law. We have several savings accounts. We used to have what they call a rollover account that went in every night and drew interest, but actually the expenses on that were far greater than the return. So we have settled on a couple savings. We need to have some liquidity, but right now we have some. We have a few areas. For example, our ARPA money that we've gotten, $740,000 so far for the first. That's in savings and sitting there. I didn't do that with the money that we got previously for the COVID money, because the interest from the COVID money had to be used for COVID. So it limited what we did. But the ARPA money, whatever interest we do make, can be used for anything. At least that's what they're telling us at this juncture. So that's sitting, drawing interest. We have over $1 million somewhere else drawing interest. So yeah, we are actually working to make money while we're spending money.
I have a quick question. How much of you said we have like 7 million right now as our balance. How much of that is due to COVID money or other government money, as opposed to just where we would be if COVID had never happened?
Well, we got over $1.4 million in COVID money. So basically, that at least that much would be that portion of surplus we have, because we use that for replacement of personnel, costs, salaries, and that kind of thing. That's why police budgets, the fire, police, and dispatch budgets were very healthy this past year. So it's that money that gives us that surplus.
So 1.5 in COVID money, whereas the other 5.5, is that surplus from the additional income taxes that were?
No, because we don't run a huge balance, but we always run a balance, because we haven't even spent all of the money that we're going to for salaries and contractual for the rest of the year. So it will go down. It will go down some, but yeah. We've also gotten the ARPA money, and we're going to get more. It's going to be like $1.4 million again, but we've only have the $740,000 some right now. So yeah, we have a surplus right now, thankfully, because of the COVID money, and we got that and the money from Summit County that was only for personnel services. So that's helped us to have a surplus. So we're trying to guard it.
I don't know why I'd call it a surplus.
Yes.
Okay. These are funds that we're fortunate. We track our carryover at the end of each year. And I don't mean to be quarrelsome about that.
No.
But it's not like, gee, where can we spend this? And how soon can we spend it? And I'm sure you weren't implying it either. I believe it's because we've been fiscally responsible. We brought in an awful lot of money in grants that we otherwise would have had to use taxpayer dollars for. I mentioned that $500,000 fire truck, $900,000 for a bridge. So we've been really successful in those areas. We've been blessed in those areas. When we think about you know, that you certainly want at least, you know, a 3-month operating carryover, just to be prudent. And if we're at $12 million, you know, we want to at least be, you know, at $3 million or so, just to be fiscally prudent. And then on top of that, we've got year-end expenses that come out. There's a lot of things that get paid at the end of the year, salary things. And then our revenue doesn't come in immediately on January 1st, as you know. So a lot of our local government money, a lot of our property tax money, that stuff comes in incrementally as the year goes on. So the other part of it is making sure that we've got funds sufficient to carry us through the first quarter of the following year as well. I don't want to belabor this. Those are good questions.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm glad there's a surplus because thinking about energy prices right now.
Sure.
And that's going to affect, you know, plowing, everything that the Bilderberg City, you know, maintenance does, and heating and
absolutely
everything.
And sometimes that's something, one thing that people told me that they've seen on the internet or what have you, it has to do with people looking at our balance, because I only read the balance for all the funds. We have funds. This $7 million is split up between the funds, and by law, if it's police money, it can only be used for police. If it's fire, only fire. You know, general fund, yes, can be used for other sources, but we can't transfer it from these other funds interchangeably. It doesn't work that way.
That's a balance of all our funds right
Yeah, that's the balance of all our funds.
And, you know, as we move forward, what we saw before, over the years, we saw that carryover. We were in, you know, we went from a township to a village, and we went from a village to a city, and everybody voted for that. And we put in place the 1% income tax, and we were in decent shape. And I'll put this together as a graph for people to look at later, because it needs to be understood, at least from my point of view. That what we saw over the course of time, there's a flat line on that, all right, in terms of what the income tax was generating. Now, we've seen a couple other things happen. The local government fund, we don't get as much from the state as we used to, et cetera. But what happened over the course of time, we kept seeing that carryover shrink. And the carryover, and meanwhile, of course, costs are going up. You know, we went through that recession in 2008, 2009. We went for a stretch. Nobody was even getting raises. But we know we were spending more for salt. We know we were spending more for paving. We know we were spending more for gasoline. We were spending more for everything. And now we know that. And so, and the council proposed and the voters approved the 2% income tax. Well, that put us back in decent shape again. All right? Probably going around 2013, 2014, somewhere in that stretch. All right? 2016 maybe. So now we're not in bad shape. All right? And then I think we've been careful with what we're spending. And we've been fortunate with the federal money we're bringing in, and we're in decent shape right now. But the question is where we're going to be in 5 years, all right? As these costs continue to go up, and if we flatline on income tax, and the costs are going to continue to go up, which this is what the commercial development is all about, where I sit. It's not like, you know, I can't stand it if we don't have a coffee shop up here. That's not it. Okay? We're going to need some additional income tax revenue in the city to meet the expenses. I don't know another source. Okay? So, but it has to be done in a controlled setting. So I didn't mean to go that deep into the weeds on all this stuff, but that's the future, and I think that's a conversation we're going to have to continue to have as a community. Because if the notion is we don't want to change anything, well, that's all well and good, because we're going to be fine for the next few years, and nobody will see the difference. But if we're not building it right now, 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to have problems. Anyway, I don't know what the question was.
Yes, sir.
But doesn't anyone calculate the expenses that go up with the growth? The exponential growth creates yet more need for services.
No, well, I can't give you a study on it. You know, I can't tell you, you know, I'm not sure. I mean, it's a valid point, but let's assume it's a grocery store and a drugstore and a coffee shop, and you know, there we don't have much. If there's some additional housing, I agree. But then there'll be some additional property tax as well.
Yeah, but I look at the demand for city services and fire and police. And some services, anytime we increase.
And we're going to have that conversation. But what's the alternative? Don't do it.
No, the alternative is to keep a balanced budget, and if the increases come in from we did a 1% and 2% to follow that. It would sound to me that every time that the expenses go up, I pay more regardless. I mean,
only if you work here. Only if you work in New
so
Franklin.
you're not going to.
Which 90% of only 10% of the people that live here work here. 90% of the people who work here don't live here. Which is why, you know.
90% of people live here
don't work here.
Don't work here. Yeah,
But that's also why those of us who do live here and work here
I get it.
are concerned about it.
Well, I appreciate that, but if you're not going to find another city anywhere that's not paying 2% taxes. Most of them are 2.5%.
I think we talked about the last couple meetings about working at home. Tax basis are going to change for those folks working at home that go into their local infrastructure, their local government.
Is that happening? Is that gonna happen? Do we know?
Nobody knows at this point in time. I mean, it's right. That's the status quo right now. Now, whether they're going to do something in Columbus to change that, I don't know the answer.
Is that happening?
There are doing that.
Is that the now?
Yeah, it's been
January 1st,
discussed
takes
and
effect.
debated. Yeah.
My point being is that
January 1st, it takes-
I don't want to belabor this, but the point is that you guys are doing great in managing the surplus. Keep it up. Find every way we possibly can generate that to where we get a return on it, and it's well balanced, and we're all.
I'll be very interested in furthering this conversation with you.
Oh,
I'm dead serious.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I know you are.
okay.
All right, got a couple things. One on the Tudor House with the December 5th. Last year, if you remember, we did some caroling over at St. Luke's. Is there any thought to having those people who are just right there across the parking lot go over to St. Luke's and do something for those folks as well?
We have reached out to St. Luke's to see if any of their folks might be able to be ambulatory, and whether or not, I don't know the answer on that one.
If you remember, we actually went around the building and.
No, I remember, I was there, I was in good voice that day.
So no, I didn't know if there's any consideration given to that, to give those folks something, the ones that can't get out of the building.
I'll broach that with the groups.
It's a COVID thing, probably.
And then.
No, there's that.
And then on
We're
the.
outside there inside.
Right. Right.
And then on the taxes, actually January 1st, what they had in that is House Bill 197 was actually, it went out of, long story short, January 1st, that you can actually start paying your payroll tax, your income tax, if you're working remotely. It used to be 20 consecutive days, they removed that, so now it's just if you're working X number of days a year from your house, you can actually pay your income tax to the city you live in where you're working. I forwarded some information over to a few of the folks on that to bring to you guys. But on the city's end, I think it may be worthwhile getting some information out, start letting people know about that, because places like Akron, Barberton, and so on, they got a higher income tax than we have. They're 2.25%, 2.5%, and that would actually be a savings for people that are working remotely and paying that to the Akron, Barberton, whoever.
Well, those employers are going to have a duty.
They need to be made aware of it.
They're going to have a duty to pay the tax where the person's working.
They do, but the resident, it's on the actual employee to bring that to their attention.
Huh.
So that's my point. There may be a nice education push that the city does to get that information out and make people aware of that, because then that could be a nice income for the city.
Because otherwise, they'll have to go back and find it
Right.
from the city.
Those employers are not.
So that was my point for forwarding that information, get ahead of this before it's an issue.
All right, thanks. Any other questions, sir?
My name is Clint Montgomery. I'm a 5804 Canterbury. Question with the whole property taxes and building or not building. I'm 44 years old. My kids are about to graduate from high school.
He's waving. In case you wonder why we're.
As the population ages and people are getting older, they either move out or, they move on to, Florida or whatever they go. I don't know where I'm going, probably Florida. But if we don't have things in place, to bring in younger crowds, younger people, younger kids, like our school system whenever it gets built and updated, hopefully soon, that we're not gonna have these people coming here. If somebody's gonna try to sell their house for $300,000, $400,000 like they're trying to do on my neighborhood, on my street, nobody's gonna buy it when they go drive by the school or see that there is no coffee shop. They're just gonna go to Jackson or somewhere else. We have to start bringing, I'm not saying we have to go to like Akron or Cleveland or anything like that, or even like Green or Jackson. But I'm sorry, Northwest is like, seems smaller than us, but they've got tons of crap. They just built a Taco Bell. I don't want Taco Bell, but you know, they're doing stuff to bring things in. I think we should at least follow a little bit of their model to bring in some businesses. So I'm not paying 3-4% of my property taxes. Because if I have to, I'll just move somewhere else. I'm financially able to do that. Not everybody is, but I can do that. I'm sorry, do I sound loud? Because and I do apologize, I do get a little excited, but I'm not yelling, so. Yeah.
Thanks.
So, yeah, well, sorry. I'm done to me.
Okay.
I'm done.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to check back on the trail that we're talking about making. Am I understanding that there's the hopes of doing some development off of that, like a grocery store or something like that on the trail?
No, not on the trail itself. No, just whether or not that trail would make it more attractive to somebody who might want to buy, downsize, and have a property in proximity where they can get to that trail for exercise.
Yeah, you're talking about maybe some,
Like grocery store or something, I'm not.
Well, no, what I was talking about was that, that hopefully, or perhaps, once we have the sewer and the water on Manchester Road, that maybe a grocery store would come in. Separate and apart from that is, would there be any housing that would be developed that and I keep saying it because that's what I picture, for the empty nester or the person who wants to downsize, etc. Who, if the property owner wants to create that type of development, and I want to downsize from my 4-bedroom, I just want a 2-bedroom condo. And if it's sitting right off of Manchester Road somewhere, and maybe that's more attractive to me if I know that there's an all-purpose path, I can get on my bike and I can head right down and shoot down Vanderhoof and get on that 110-mile trail. So that's how they would conjoin. Thanks.
Personally, I have not heard one positive comment on doing this trail.
Okay.
I've heard leave it go, we have parks, we have towpath, and along with that, I believe you had commented there would be a substantial investment, and then I'm looking long term, it's going to be the maintenance on that.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that being quite costly, and it's not a safe road.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I'm not trying to waffle on it either. It's one of those ideas we try to move down the tracks. Let's think about this. Well, rather than just sit around and talk about it, let's see if it can happen, and then decide if we want it to happen. And I'm not being duplicitous about that. I'm serious about that. I don't know if it's a great idea. It's clearly not a linchpin to anything else we're doing. And if it turns out that nobody thinks it's a good idea, well, then we just won't do it. I mean, council will make that call. And I'm not going to be heartfelt disappointed if it doesn't happen. But there are, sometimes you look at the bigger picture. There are people that do a lot of this who think it's a good idea. Sometimes I got to be careful. I'm not just taking the New Franklin view. I see this happening around the county. I see it happening around the state. They talk about it brings more people in. And if it brings more people in, then that feeds. I'm talking about visitors. So maybe more people come to the state park because they want to catch this trail. I don't know. And maybe then they go to the drive-through or they go to the PLX deli, and so we're getting a little more traffic in here for our local businesses. There are some people that think these kind of things have value. So let's take a look, at least.
And the grant money was for the study.
Yeah.
Not to put it in or anything, just the study.
all right, right there.
Is
Sorry,
that city costing? Sorry.
okay, you still up? Okay.
We had a matching on that. I think it was like, 15,000 and we got 10 and, or maybe it was 12 and we paid about 4,000 towards it. Sir.
I'm Mike Serlo, that's 5734 Hummel Road, where the bridge is missing.
What bridge is this? How long has it been?
So on Van Buren Road in Barberton, they have the bike lane, they just put it in. So I'm just saying, in case you wanted to see kind of what that looks like, it was pretty nice. The way they have is 2 lanes and then they have the bike lane from the outside. And they did a good job of it.
Where is that?
On Van Buren, it's where the factories are, so it's not the, it's the south part of Arvin, I guess that would be the southern part over as you're. So we took Van Buren out.
South of
McDonald's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Just like there's it.
So it does look nice.
It looks really nice, yeah.
Is that a bike lane or is that part of the towpath?
Well, I think that's why they did it. So it connects, because the towpath runs right there, but I
Right.
think if you wanted to go into downtown
Oh, I
Barberton,
see, yeah.
you could literally then ride the
Right,
bike
right
and
there.
go into Barberton, which
That
I think
magic
is what
mile
you
or
were
whatever
saying,
they call
it
it,
gets you
right.
into the city. So,
So kind of like where they do the crossover there down in Clinton, you come from there and you can actually go.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else?
I need some clarification about the pickleball and tennis courts, just to make sure that I have this straight in my head. That project is supposed to be about a $700,000 project. We applied for a $150,000 grant to Nature Works. We were awarded 1/3 of that amount, in the amount of $52,000. We were not awarded the other 2/3 of that.
That's correct.
So at this point, for a $700,000 project, we have $52,000. So then you were talking about the shared ground grant, which we don't know what the status of that is at this point. But then there was some discussion of city paying, parks paying, money going back and forth there. How did you explain that?
The money that would be used would be, and let's assume we get no further grants. All right, and let's assume that we are able to do the rest of the project for $650,000.
Okay.
We would finance that. We take in about $150,000 a year that has to be dedicated for, can only be used for capital projects for parks.
Okay.
And so we would dedicate the lion's share of that money to cover the cost of the tennis courts and the pickleball courts. It would take 5 to 7 years, somewhere in that range, to offset that funding. So it'd be money that we can't use for anything else. Now, what I'm talking about is, is the city in a position, where do we get that initially? Where do we get this $650,000? Well, we could borrow it and have to pay interest on it. But what I'm interested in pursuing is, can we self-fund that and use general fund money for that with a prescribed schedule that would reimburse the general fund from the parks revenue to the point where the entire project is paid out of parks money.
So is that parks revenue always the same standard amount? It's always
It's 5% of the
$150,000?
income tax.
Okay.
It's kind of valued out at about $150,000 a year. So that's a.
I would make a request that before we move forward with this project, we make pretty sure that it's going to go. I would really hate to see those trees come down and then that project sits.
I can appreciate that.
And that's unsettling to me, because I've seen things like that before. We all have, things start and then nothing ever happens. So, I hope that we'll take that into consideration.
I couldn't agree with you. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And Susan and I had already talked to, they had a lot going on this week, payroll and so on, but so we had already talked that we were going to sit down and take a hard look at, we're close down to the end of the year. Can we carve out that money and make sure that we have those funds to get this done? I will tell you that we'll know that before we do anything with that project.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes.
We talked about environmental impact based on that concept before. Is there any way that certain trees of certain size can be uprooted and replanted as opposed to cut down and destroyed?
I can't imagine. I don't.
Just from work that I've done
Not
before.
that size.
Mhm. Transplantation is extremely, not on those sizes of trees.
And
No, I'm not. Go ahead.
Well, I will throw out there that the United Nations Global Warming Summit was held these past 2 weeks in Glasgow, Scotland. And their big push was deforestation. And what they were saying was, we're not talking about deforestation in the rainforest, where none of us really have a stake in that. We're talking about deforestation in our own areas, because trees here need to be saved along with trees in those areas because of the enormous amount of carbon they put out into the atmosphere. So I think, for me personally, we're kind of missing the boat on what this whole thing means. But that's me as a tree hugging environmentalist.
But to take that to the next level, let's offset those carbons by replanting trees in other areas. So set up
And we did that this last year. We planted about 40 or 50 trees, some soil and water.
You gotta remember, these tests were dark for us.
And we took advantage of that, and we planted some out here, planted some, so
Keep things,
we're gonna
their
continue
minds
with that.
active
And
and their bodies fresh.
And that's the stuff that should be disclosed. If you set off those carbon chambers, then make them public.
It is true.
Anyone else?
All right.
Thank you. All in executive session?
Executive session.
All right.
Before we adjourn, real quick, I just want to say, when I left my house today, I told my wife it'd be a quick meeting because we only had 2 things on the agenda. We've been talking here for about 50 minutes, and I appreciate you guys coming in tonight. We got about 20 people here. There are very few communities throughout the country that will allow this opportunity to take place, to allow this back and forth, to allow people to ask questions over and over. Numerous questions. But we have that opportunity here, and I think it's great that we can do that. I think it's great that Mr. Stock allows the talk to continue, and I think it's great that you all come out and are asking these questions, and I hope you continue to come out and others come out, and if you have questions, you have concerns, we're answering them for you. We'll give you the best answer we can. Good or bad, but we'll give you the answer. And if, you've made some great suggestions also that I know Mr. Adamson will look into. So again, I just want to say I appreciate you guys coming out and being a part of our community. Thank you.
And there's been questions about our transparency, which
David, I do have a question. I apologize. Susan, how do you want the checks made out?
Yes.
Paul said we had to call.
Yes.
Can't you tell everyone how to make the checks?
Yeah, we're gonna have to, what we're gonna have to do, we don't want it to go through the city because then we have to deal with the auditor. So Katie Smith is our special projects coordinator. We have her function, the checks are gonna be mailed to Katie Smith.
Okay.
And then we'll monitor everything and then we'll
That's
handle
what
the
we
books
did
that
last
way.
year.
We made it up to Katie?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
same
that's
thing
what
we
we're
did
gonna
last year.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she had us do last
Yeah.
year. But I think if you tell everybody.
I had said
now-
initially the wrong thing, but I'll correct that on the website too.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I just thought it'd be
So the
easier.
donation.
People say, I don't
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And he can write your memo that it's.
And it's what holiday help is what we're calling it, right?
Okay, because we're gonna get one from Lakes Cares, our auction organization.
That's what-
Is it?
But that's what we did last year.
Yeah, is it Katie Smith or Kathy?
Yeah, just Katie. Katie Smith.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, I wanted to know.
Well, that's, I do too.
I know.
All right, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Promise I won't keep you.
Oh, no, it's okay.
All four administrative assistants. One in each one of our.
Ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Sorry. Got the keys, right? I got them. Yeah. Oh, okay, good. 'Cause I don't have them.
Zoning, inspector, and the